Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Iyun Shulchan Orach. Today's Simon is Simon Lamazayin and Orach Chaim 37. We're discussing the Zman Hanachas Tefillin, the Zman that you're Chayiv to wear your Tefillin. So let's jump right to the Bir Halacha over here, because this Bir Halacha is going on Sif Beis, where Sif Beis Shulchan Orach says Mitzvah Liyosam Alav Kol Yom. The mitzvah technically is to be on the whole day. But he says because Shrichen Guf Naki, you have to have a clean body, like the Gemara says in Shabbos, so therefore, and we can't be careful not to pass gas or to have a Hesach Hadas, so therefore the minhag is to only wear them during Kriyat Shema and Tefillah. Now the Bir Halacha is a little more definitive over here. What is the Chiyah, right? Technically, if you're Chayav to wear it the whole day, right? For example, let's take tzitzis, right? I mentioned tzitzis in the regular show. Tzitzis, right? The mitzvah we paskin, the mitzvah says Shas Mangram. That's why women are exempt from the mitzvah of tzitzis. Paskin like Shimon over the Rabbanon. Therefore, Laila is not considered Zman tzitzis. And during, how you doing? And during, who's that guy? Like my friend over there. Thanks for the support. And Laila is considered not Zman tzitzis, but during the day it's Zman tzitzis. Therefore, if you're wearing a four-corner garment at any point during the day, if you're wearing it for the whole day, you have to put on tzitzis every second. It's not that, oh, I can put on tzitzis for 1 minute and then, I can just keep on wearing the four-corner garment. No, you have to put it on every second. So the transfer to tefillin, right, everyone agrees during the day, it's Zman tefillin. We paskin even Lila's Zman tefillin. Midrabbanan, we don't put tefillin on at night because you might fall asleep, might have a hezek hadas. But during the day is the mitzvah of tefillin. So it should be, theoretically, I would say, the simple explanation is chayav midoraisa to wear it the entire day. So the Prima God is not sure. Maybe the mitzvah is the whole day, or maybe the mitzvah is only for 1 minute, which doesn't seem to make sense to them. When they're Rabbanan kol yom, and the Rabbanan they said to wear it all day, like the Shulchan Aruch says here, mitzvah kol yom, ubitlu achshav she'en lanu guf naki. And therefore, since it's only the Rabbanan, so therefore they can say nowadays we don't have guf naki, you don't wear it the entire day. Then he says he's maskana is it's basically mitzvah is to wear it for 1 second during the day. The Shulchan Aruch meant that it's the best way mitzvah min amufchar, something like hither mitzvah is to wear it the whole day. That is not the opinion of the Yeshuas Yaakov. Sefer Yeshuas Yaakov pasak the minat Torah mitzvah and kol yom. Even minat Torah the mitzvah is the whole day. So according to this Yeshuas Yaakov, which seems to me the right explanation, how do you explain the fact that we don't wear it the whole day? We're that concerned that you're not going to have a guf naki? I mean, if you feel that you're going to have to release gas, pass gas, you should go and take your tefillin off and then put them back on. I mean, people are not passing gas the whole day. Most people, unless they have stomach problems, are able to keep a guf naki. Why our body's so different than it used to be? If the mitzvah back then was to wear it the whole day. This is all based on a premise, what something that says in Sif Aleph, where the Shulchan Aruch says, now this is the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara says anyone who doesn't wear tefillin, right, is part of Poshei Shal B'Gufa, meaning he's mored, he does rebellion, b'mezid against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What is Poshei Shal B'Gufa? So the Mishnah Berurah brings a couple different opinions. Some say he never wore tefillin in his life. Some say he takes a vacation from tefillin. Some say even just not wearing it for 1 whole day is Poshei Shal B'Gufa. But if the mitzvah midorais, like the Yeshuas Yaakov is the mitzvah wear it every second, so I would say if you're not doing the mitzvah, you're a Poshei Shal B'Gufa on purpose. You're taking them off. You're Poshei Shal B'Gufa, right? You're not even 1 second a day that you could be wearing them, and you could keep a guf naki, and most people could keep a guf naki. So you should have to wear them. So it's a big question. So I like to suggest that maybe a way of understanding why we don't wear them the whole day is because not just a guf naki, actually a fiach shouldn't pass gas. There's also an opinion in the Gemara in Shabbos, the main day in the Gemara. That's the reason you don't wear them when you're sleeping, because it can't have hezek hadas. What is hezek hadas? Hezek hadas from the notion of sach is swimming, right? I have an app on my phone, think or swim, for a stock market. I don't know, figure out the stock market. Either you think or you swim. Swimming is done habitually. You can learn to swim, but when you're in the water, you just swim. You don't think. You just swim. And that's the opposite. Hezek hadas is the opposite of thinking. It's just going with the hergel, not thinking, not making a decision. When we say the mitzvah of tefillin is supposed to be the whole day, and really the mitzvah is the whole day, the sod of the mitzvah, the drasha of the mitzvah is to make boxes like we wear the black boxes, to wear a box on your head and you're tied around 7 times, tighten it around your arm, tied around. But these are just metaphor. That metaphorically, that's not really the mitzvah. The real mitzvah of tefillin is, like I said, is a cheshbon nefesh, and that mitzvah applies the entire day. So technically, we don't have to wear tefillin. Really, are just a reminder. The drasha of Chazal is just supposed to be a reminder of what the sod is. Most people don't know what the sod is, but I'm telling you right now, the sod of the mitzvah is to make sure that you do a cheshbon nefesh, and that applies all the time, except when you're sleeping. You can't think when you're sleeping. When you have the ability to think and you have the ability to make a decision, you have to make a decision. Now, people, when they're born, are not making decisions. If you think about your childhood, the ability to make a decision really only comes into your mind somewhere, I'd say, between the age of 14 and 18. People who remember, their early childhood, it wasn't so stressful. There's a certain period in the year, maybe in high school and college. It happened to me when I was beginning college, 18 years old. All of a sudden, one morning, I woke up, and I felt that, in my mind, I have to make a decision. I remember taking out a Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. I didn't know any of the halachas. I grew up modern Orthodox, and I'm looking at this Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. I made some notes in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and from that point on, I just felt this pressure, to make decisions on a practical level, what to do next, and decisions in general about my hashkafa and things like that. And there was always a pressure. There was a point in my life. It got to the point. I did this cheshbon nefesh for many years. And they got to a point where I remember there was one time I was sitting in Shar Yashuv, and in the middle of, I think when the Rosh Hashiva year, I was giving a Kol Shar Klali, and I just had, your mind wanders a lot during Shiurim, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I got to make sure. All of a sudden there was a pressure on my mind, like I have to pick a mitzvah, my mitzvah. And I remember grappling with decisions so much, and it was so hard for me, to make this decision, because I have to be, that mitzvah has to be my mitzvah, and I have to keep that mitzvah the utmost observance for the rest of my life, as much as I possibly could. I couldn't pick a mitzvah because so many mitzvahs are hard to do it, And first I picked tefillin. Because we're learning tefillin. First I picked the mitzvah of tefillin, and then I'm like, tefillin, then I have to Mekayim Rabbeinu Tam, and I want to learn to live a life of kolel. I'm not going to have any extra money to buy an extra pair of Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. Obviously, I'm going to buy the most muhuder pair of Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. That's going to cost me at least $1,000, $2,000. I don't have that money. I can't do tefillin. So then, I regretted. I think eventually I picked Sfiras HaOmer, because that was a pretty easy mitzvah. You just have to say some words. So every year I try to figure out a way of making it more special. The mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer, I would put up some calendars. I would put up some dates. I'd mark them off the dates. I don't know. Maybe I took one year not to shave the whole entire Omer. I don't know. Anyway, that was the point in my life where that decision, things come into your mind all the time, and decisions. People make 20,000 decisions a day. That's estimations. People average 20,000 decisions a day. So really, you can't be Mesiach Das at any point, because once you give up decision making, that's what it becomes. It becomes mush. You become swimming. You become in the ocean. You're not on the bridge anymore. You're in the ocean. You gotta swim, but you'll eventually drown. It's Ma'im Shein Lam Sof. You'll eventually drown. You can't swim forever. So that's the problem. So the problem is so tefillin really is supposed to be, your cheshbon nefesh has to be entire thing. And if you ask me today, do I do a cheshbon nefesh anymore? I do, on a much less level. I think after, it was 18 years of doing a cheshbon nefesh. That's the reason I call it chai. I think after 18 years of doing a cheshbon nefesh, I started when I was 18, and there was a point when I turned 36. I was married at 35. I had a kid. After my kid was born, 36, it got a little easier. The decisions got a little easier. I wasn't abandoning decisions. There were just less decisions to make. Things just went, the same pressure, the same weight on my shoulder to make decisions, always make the right decision. I didn't always make the right decisions, but if I made a wrong decision, I did charata right away. I realized I did a mistake, and I moved on, and I did better. You can't just give it up. You make the wrong decision. You can't say, okay, move on to the next one. Forget about your past. No, there's a mitzvah of tshuva in the Torah, and that's what it's talking about. You have to do charata have to regret it and make sure in your mind and really feel bad about it that you want to do it next time. And then you can move on and make the next decision. Hopefully it's the right decision. If it's a wrong decision, do karata again. I don't know if other people are successful with this to the extent that I was successful with this. I think I'm kind of unique in terms of my success with this, that I lasted for so long, for 18 years. And then ever since then, now I'm 40, 36, ever since then, decisions have got a lot easier. And there also was a point which made it a lot easier, where instead of decisions being mitoras musar, where the decisions were, what should I do to avoid olam hazeh? Because I thought that was the right hashkafa, to avoid olam hazeh, to get as little pleasure from olam hazeh as possible. Your ruchnius is more important than your gashmius. Whatever ruchnius is, your neshama is more important than your gashmius. So avoid olam hazeh at all costs. I sort of got a different perspective. One time I was sitting in America, actually, at my parents' house. Went there for the summer. It was right after, the decision making got a little easier. And my wife just asked me, I'm like, what should I have for breakfast? People have choices. What do you have for breakfast? Decisions. Hard to decide what to have for breakfast. And my wife said, what do you like? And it hit me. I'm like, you know what? I don't even know what I like. I don't even know what I like. I've just been doing things, what I think. I didn't even know how I was making decisions before. And I was making decisions based on some calculations. Like it was some calculation like it has to be as little possible pleasure from this world, but I have to look as normal as possible. So it was always a compromise. I don't want to appear weird because I'll be sanua. I don't want to appear like I'm being a holy person. On the other hand, I don't want to take pleasure from the world. So it was always those two things, trying to balance my decision making. But then I just got a new perspective, and no, Hashem wants you to enjoy the world, and two things come together, right? Decision making. What do you like to eat? I want to eat it because I'm supposed to enjoy this world. I'm supposed to enjoy the world, and therefore, by eating what I want, I'm going to be a normal person. It's not only two equations, right? Avoid pleasure, but be normal. Right? Two calculations that are hard to calculate, and certainly to balance. But now I have a new calculation. Just enjoy the world. The physicality is your spirituality, as long as the physicality is what you really want, the real you. That's what the Yetzer Hara is telling you. The Yetzer Hara is telling you to be somebody else, not to be yourself. And when you want to be yourself, and you want to, so everything works out together. And that partially because the decision making was a lot easier now, because I was deciding just one decision. What do I want? Of course, if I do things that I want, because I'm a human being, I'm going to be normal, because that's people do what they want. Everyone does what they want in the world, so you're going to be normal. So everything was solved by that. And the way Min HaShamayim it works is that decision making became easier for me. The weight has lessened and lessened and lessened over the years. To the point now where I'm 40 years old, and I can say, there are certain things that I have to make a slight decision about. Most things I either decided about and I figured out. Right, when you're on this path and you make the decision of what you like, you figure out what you like. Eventually, you figure it out. It takes a little trial and error. You figure out what you like, and when you figure out what you like, you figured it out. There's no more questions anymore. So obviously there's different circumstances and new things come up in life and make more decisions. But I think that part of decision making is divinely ordained. The weight is felt more during that period. I think studies have been done in science that the period between 18 and 35 is the most stressful period in life, because that's the time people have to go through decision making. Eventually, decision making, as you get older, becomes lessened. But I do believe that the real mitzvah of tefillin is to be on. You have to wear the tefillin the whole day, and like the Yeshuas Yaakov Paskins in the Orach, that you have to wear it the whole day. We don't do it. We don't do the minhag. The minhag is not to wear the black boxes, because most people are not successful in Cheshbon Nefesh, and they can't wear the whole day, and they give up decision making, and then their brain becomes mush, and that's not a good thing. So I highly recommend taking decision making seriously. Make a decision. Know that you have to make a decision. Make that decision. Don't be afraid to make a decision. That's the biggest thing, right? Ikar lo lefachid klal. Don't be afraid to make a decision. Make the decision. Even something maybe crazy that you wouldn't have think of doing, you have to make the decision. If it's not right, you can still do tshuva. But to not make a decision is the worst thing, because then you end up off the bridge, in the water. Mayim she'en lahem sof. You're swimming, hesech hadas, which is you can't wear tefillin anymore. You can't wear tefillin. You're not being Cheshbon Nefesh, and your life is over. And I'm joking. All right. See you tomorrow.